Hello and welcome to today's webinar with the Montana Drop-in Centers. What all of these folks have in common is they're all contracted under the BHDD contracts for the Drop-in Center projects. My name is Leah Wetzel. I'm with Montana's Peer Network, and I'm honored with being able to do the technical assistance and training under the same similar contract. So I get to support these drop-in centers, which a lot of them, they don't need much support. So I do what I can with each of them in a unique way. But today, what we're here today is to just talk about what these drop-in centers are about, really educate all of you who are watching on what these specific drop-in centers are doing and how they can be helpful in our communities. And so we're going to start out with introductions. And let's just start out with our first question as we're doing introductions. Just share with us who you are, what drop-in center you're with, like your location, and what role do you play, and a little bit about yourself. So let's go ahead and start out with Guy with Hope Rescue Mission.
Yeah, my name is Guy Johnson. I'm a peer support specialist with Hope Rescue Mission here in Missoula, specifically at the temporary safe outdoor space. And we work with folks on site, helping with housing resources, applications, IDs, birth certificates. From Rocky Boy, Montana. Been living in Missoula for about almost 4 years now, 5 years, and I'm just really glad to be a part of this.
Thank you, Guy. And so we'll kind of go in this rotation. Guy, Hannah, Roanna, Dawn, Elton, and Misty. So next, Hannah from HRDC.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Scott, and I am working at the Drop-In Center in Bozeman, Montana for HRDC. So my role at our Drop-In Center is I kind of run the day-to-day things. I do lots of peer support, one-on-one. I deal with crisis response with our guests. I help people get into treatment centers or sober livings. I help people, with pretty much everyday needs that they come to me with. I also run a recovery group once a day for 2 hours, and this is completely open to the public. Yeah, I've had a really good experience working there. I have 6 years of sobriety myself. I am born and raised here in Bozeman, and it's really nice being part of my community finally and putting back into it and helping others around me that, are struggling. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you for your beautiful introduction. Dawn, would you like to go next?
Sure, you skipped somebody, just so you know, so you don't miss them.
Sorry.
I'm Don Roberts. I'm with Never Alone Recovery Support Services. We're located in Ronan, Montana on the Flathead Indian Reservation. And my role here is I'm a licensed addiction counselor, so I wear that hat when I need to, but mostly my role here is as executive director. And I do clinical supervision with the peer supporters we got working here, and I do run groups, help run groups, and meet with people and do contingency management program with people. We do parenting classes and all kinds, group every morning and every evening, and peer support all through the day. And we also do recovery residence programs, and we're going through a big expansion on that. And so that's taking up a lot of my time right now, trying to get the legal stuff in order with that. And did I hit all the points? Yep.
Thank you so much, Dawn. And I just want to touch on that all these individuals are people that are in recovery. A lot of these individuals are the peer leads at their centers. Dawn is a catch-all, do-all at NARS, and they're really blown up out there. So I really appreciate you taking your time, because I know that you're doing a lot. So thank you.
Let me say one last thing, since you mentioned I am a person in long-term recovery. We are a recovery community organization, which means everybody involved at our entire organization are people in recovery themselves.
Thank you, Dawn. Elton.
Hi, my name is Alton Talley. I am the program coordinator for Our Place in Helena. My role here is a kind of like Dawn's, it's a catch-all. I do peer support one-on-one. I help run groups. I'm getting things together to get my source certification. And I've been doing this for about 36 years. I started doing this when I was 20 years old. And I've been working on and off, mostly with youth, until I got here to work with the adults. And that's kind of it. I'm like just a catch-all. I'm actually rewriting all of our policy and procedure manuals and writing all of our job descriptions. So it's kind of a whole lot going on right now. Is that it? Did I get it all?
That was perfect. That was great. Thank you, Alton, and thank you all of you for taking your time. I know you guys all have really important positions where you're at. Next, can I have Misty share with us?
Hi, my name is Misty Toinita, and I'm a native here on the Crow Reservation. I run the Blessed Beginnings Drop-In Center here in Lodge Grass, Montana, located on the Crow Reservation. I've been in recovery going on 9 years from drugs and alcohol. I'm a mother of 7. I'm happily married and blessed to serve.
Thank you, Misty.
Do you want to know what I do? Don't say what I do.
Sure.
Okay. We we help people with parenting. We do Narcan training. We get Narcan out to the community. We support and we provide support, trust, encouragement, hope to our community. We work on building relationships, having healthy minds and healthy bodies, and we help with travel to treatment. Sorry for the noise.
Thank you so much, Misty, and thank you for your work. Next, we have Miss Roanna at the Hope Center in Hardin.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm a member of the Crow tribe. I am 48 years old. I've been in recovery for 9 years. I'm located at the Hope Drop-In Center in Hardin, Montana, and my role is I started off as the lead peer support in the area. Actually, I think Misty was your lead support in the area, peer support, but then I am now the Drop-In Center program coordinator, and our mission here at the Hope Center is to support all the members of this community towards better health, body, mind, spirit, family, and community. We run groups here: recovery fitness, parenting, healing and trauma, grieving, positive thinking, healthy minds, healthy bodies, one-on-ones, stroller fitness, and just supporting somebody to get into, if they're afraid to get to the clinic or see a provider, we support them, to stand beside them, even housing, education, you name it. There's nothing we can't get through when we have some support. So we do here at the Hope Drop-In Center, and along with partnership with Mountain Shadow, we are able to send people out to take care of their travel to get to different facilities for recovery.
Thank you, Roanna. And so those are our introductions and a little bit about, what the drop-in centers are doing. Each one of them, in a different community, each one of them ran uniquely to fit their community's needs. And so going into our second question, why did you get into recovery work? What is your big purpose, your big reasoning behind getting into the work that you do? And we'll go that same route. Guy, you want to lead us off in this one?
Yeah. One of the biggest things for me that got me into this work was being from Rocky Boy, moving to non-tribal community. I was battling addiction, and then I ended up going through the DOC system. I got locked up with a few different charges. So I went through 18 months, and I went through treatment through there. And then when I was in pre-release, I had to go to a mandatory LACs, 8 mandatory sessions, and I just didn't feel a connection with my LAC. And I started working at the Poverello Center here in Missoula, and I found my niche. I really liked sharing my story, helping folks, and I wanted to bridge that gap so that way it wasn't coming from somebody that I felt did not really understand what it was like to go through those struggles. So I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. Been in recovery for 5, and I've been able to really, in my heart, I was that missing link for some of the folks that I get to serve day to day, because I've been through a lot of the same struggles as they've been. I mean, whether it be, the DOC, being a tribal member, being addiction, substance use, or mental health diagnoses. And it's just nice to have that common mutuality between me and my peers. So, yeah.
Thank you, Guy. Such an important piece of this work, I think. Next, Hannah.
Yeah, so I don't know, I think it was in my blood to become or to do what I'm doing today. My mother was a social worker. She was a LAC. She was just always helping me or helping people while I was growing up. So when I went through my struggle with addiction and, losing a lot of things and problems with the courts, etc., I ended up going to treatment myself. And then one of those things that they taught us was I worked the 12 steps. And at the end of it, it's to give back to others, So I kind of just started doing it on my own for myself. But then I realized that I could, put more work into it and help others gain the wisdom and the strength that I have over time. So it's just, I don't know, it's a passion of mine to help others in any way.
Thank you, Hannah. Dawn, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm in recording right now. my son. So I came in kind of roundabout way. I was a few years into recovery and working on a ranch, and my sponsor at the time happened to own the ranch, and I was basically moving irrigation pipe and doing ranch stuff. And I got really bad arthritis in my wrists, and I'm getting older, and sat me down one day and said, "How's your body feel?" I said, my body hurts. He says, "How do you think it's going to feel in 10 years? I said, "It's probably going to hurt worse." I said, "Maybe we ought to talk about education." So we started that conversation, and I went into the social work program, and got going on that degree. And I went into social work because I was bounced around in foster home to foster home and group home when I was a kid. And I really came out of that with a lot of resentment and abandonment stuff. And I wanted to help on some level. But the further I got into this, the more I realized who I really could help more than the kids, or the best way I could help the kids is to help the parents. And so so I went and cinched up my CD counselor credits and got going in that, and been rocking and rolling ever since. And I'm really glad I chose this direction. It's been a way to keep me really tied into the recovery movement in general as a person in long-term recovery, rather than, I see a lot of people struggle because they get busy in their careers and their kids and their lives, and their recovery kind of takes a back seat. And this allows me to really keep recovery in the front seat with me. And so that's how I got here.
Thank you so much, Don. Next, Elton.
So I kind of fell into this by accident. I got clean when I was 19 because I was a blackout drinker by 19 and realized my life was falling apart. When I had to get up in the morning and have a drink just so I could make it across campus, and then I wouldn't remember how I got across campus. And so I ended up dropping out and having to move home. And so I got into recovery. I went to a 12-step meeting and I was like, oh my God, these are my people. And about a year into it, I had kids from the adolescent program that I was around that started asking me to sponsor them. And it just kind of grew from there. And I've worked in healthcare since I was 15. And this just kind of fit in with that of who I was, helping people to get well. I ended up becoming a licensed practical nurse. I kept working in recovery. Like I said earlier, I've been doing this since I was 19, and I went through a really hard time where I slipped about 15 years ago. And it was at that time that they told me that I had a mental health issue and I was self-medicating. Big surprise there. And so what I do here at our place, you know, it kind of fits in with that, is that there's a lot of us out there that have mental health issues that end up getting into addiction because we have undiagnosed mental health issues. And mental health has been one of my favorite fields since I've been working in healthcare. And I am hoping to keep going with this. And our place here right now, we focus mainly on the adults. A lot of my clients are the unsheltered population. And also being part of the LGBTQ community, I know what it's like to be on the outside, to be different. And a lot of my clients that come to me and they come back and they say, we like coming here since you've been doing this, because when we come in here, we're just people. You treat us like everybody else, even if we have a mental health issue. And that is one of the reasons I keep doing this, is because everyone has the right to be treated like a human being. It doesn't matter what they look like or where they come from. You know, it's not what we are on the outside, it's what we are on the inside. And part of what I'm working on here at our place is to get the community to understand that, you know, they're just people. All of us are just people. And I keep doing this because even if it's only one person changes and their life gets saved, it was all worth it. Myself, I'm a 3-time suicide attempt survivor. And and several of my clients have been there too. And I know what it's like when you feel like you're all alone. And to let these guys know that they're not alone. Their situations may be different, but the emotions are the same. And so my goal is to keep reaching out. And I'm hoping to expand. I'm working with our executive director to expand our program. And one of the things I want to add here is an adolescent program, because here in Helena, there really isn't one. And our kids, if we can help our kids, maybe they'll never get to where we are as adults. You know, stop the vicious cycle. And that's my whole dream. Stop the dang cycle. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Elton. And you know, when we do the last question, I'll go to the next person, but when we do the last question, just so you know, maybe you could jot down, you know, what are some things that would be helpful with the work you're doing within all the legislation and the 300 million, you know, what are some things that could be helpful and positively affect the growth of the work that you guys are doing? But there I am throwing us off again. Thank God you guys are used to it. But so Misty, you want to go next?
Yes, I am blessed to do this work because I was once one of them people that, you know, were roaming around lost and with no hope in sight. And I went through 25 years of addiction where I had no support, nobody to push me. You know, I was one of those abandoned people, abandoned children that, you know, wandered around not knowing who I was and just needing that support. And there was no hope center, drop-in centers then at my time, you know. So I mean, I had 5 kids throughout my addiction, you know, and just being scared all the time of losing my children, you know, and just going through what these people are going through that I see every day, you know, that are too scared to go and talk to a nurse or a doctor or any some kind of professional that doesn't understand where they're coming from, you know, and being able to meet them where they're at and let them at that trust level where they can talk to me about whatever they need to talk about, and I can understand them because I've been there, you know. So being able to do this work, you know, who would think that I would one day be able to do, you know, give back to the people and it be a job, you know. It's amazing, you know, and so it's just everything to help my community, to come home and help my people. I had to go away for a few years to recover from being in addiction so long, you know, and being able to stand strong in a community where I used to run and roam around, you know, and do all that stuff. So my husband and I are both in recovery, and peer support is just everything, you know. And I don't know, it's just amazing to be able to do this. That's all.
Thank you, Misty. And then last here we Roanna.
So, what got me into this field was, it wasn't, I never thought I would be in this field. I didn't even want to recover, because I had no value, I had no worth. However, there would be different random community members, that would just, I would run into, and they would just tell me, you know, I didn't belong out there. And they would just remind me of my worth, you know, or remind me that I had some value. And it was people that I, you know, didn't even know. That's just how God works, you know. And then which you know, after feeling some value, I mean, after somebody you didn't even know comes and tells you you don't belong here, you know, there's a life better. And you know, that planted that seed until about the last 10 years of my recovery, which I was using for 30 years, meth. My mother, rather than degrading or condemning or, telling me that I was a disappointment, she just decided to love me unconditionally, which put my worth back in, but it took like 10 years of that, which led me to being tired. I was lonesome, and then, like, rather than being really careful about my dealing dope, I didn't care, which led me to my arrest, probation, which I had to get a job. That led to a really awesome boss who believed in me. She pushed me to go to school, which I didn't think was even possible. She believed in me, reminded me every day that I could do it and that I was smart enough. I went to school, I registered for college, and the only skill I had was recovery. And so I went into addiction studies, which right at the last year of my college, several community members just pulled me out and said, we're gonna start a drop-in center and we would like you to run it, and so that's how I ended up here. It was just people believing in me and not giving up on me, showing me hope and letting me feel that value and that worth, and that I was relevant enough to attain life again.
Thank you, Rowena. So we're going into our last question. And again, thank you all for being so transparent and vulnerable and sharing, a piece of you, because it's so important that we educate others on what resources are out there and how this has been helpful for your own lives. So what are the positive outcomes of this work? And anything that you would like to share with our viewers? And like I said before, that might be, what can be helpful for this to continue to grow and evolve and be helpful for others in your community. Guy, you want to take this one?
Yeah. One of the biggest positives of this work is letting we as peer supporters or as in drop-in centers, we get to work with a lot of the folks that are in the middle of it right now, but we're also that, again, we'll use that phrase, that bridge between the gap, to fill the gap of letting their voices be heard. We are, like Alston said, we're all people. We all matter at that point, and it's just it's giving the perspective of what people are going through in the middle of at that moment, and that's because a lot of the times as a using addict, I just didn't matter. I was wrote off so many times. So being able to be given opportunities to speak for folks that we serve every day is huge. I mean, I can think of so many different stories and times that just resonate in my in my memory for it. With our drop-in center, our site specifically, it's one of the best things is it's kind of a transitional part of somebody's life to where they can come in here and they can have a pallet, a shelter, a little space of their own after not having something for so long. I lived out of a backpack for about 5 years on the streets, and I got stolen so many times. I had to restart. So having something of their own and a door that they can lock and go to work or go to appointments or go to a meeting and come back and know their stuff is safe, secure. It's that starting point where they can start moving forward into outside thinking of, okay, well, now I can worry about housing. Okay, well, now I got bills and stuff to worry about. It's just that transitional piece that's missing for a lot of folks, or that has been missing for a lot of folks. So I mean, any type of like any type of support that we can get for the folks that we serve is greatly beneficial.
Thank you, Guy. I still have your backpack here from, no, I'm just kidding. Hannah, you like to go next?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so much positives I could just go on and on about. Luckily, our drop-in center is located inside of our emergency shelter, overnight shelter. So I get the benefit of being able to see people where they're at. I get to, just help. I don't know. I feel like I get to help the people that need it most right now in my community, or don't have a way to access recovery groups or get to them or stuff like that. So I think that's one big benefit of the Bozeman Drop-In Center. So for me, some successes I have had is with gaining these relationships or trusts with my clients that, they're not, what I've learned is they have a hard time listening to somebody that's never been through the experience that they're going through. They're like, oh, what, you read that in a book? But no, once I tell them who I am and, that I'm an addict in recovery and that I've been in their shoes, these people open up to me more and trust me. Because, I mean, in order for people to want to learn from somebody, or, if they don't trust you, if they don't believe in you, they're not gonna, follow the path that I set forth for people. And like another good outcome that I've had this past year with my guests is being able to get people into treatment, even across the country. Most of my guests have Medicaid, which there's not many options here in Montana for treatment compared to other states. So that's something that I feel that we as a state could use support with for people that are in their addictions or mental health. There's no mental health facilities either. Yeah, I think that's really it. I just really appreciate the relationships I've made with the people I share my story with, and, look forward to opening up to more people in the community besides mostly the homeless people in Bozeman. That's all I have. So, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Don, you should just had your little guy come in too. So next, Don.
So yeah, my story is a lot like everybody else's in the sense of multiple state and federal prison terms and registered violent felon, and I was nothing on my nothing on my resume, just a lifetime of drug use and crime, and so I think when I share my story with the guys coming out of prison and the people coming from that world, there's a definite, it's nice to be able to step out of my licensed addiction counselor role and do peer support kind of stuff, because that's a lot of my story is stuff I don't share on a clinical level, but I can share on a drop-in center level. And it really does make a difference. I think the most positive thing I've seen as a clinician in like an inpatient center or even an outpatient center, you don't get to see whether or not the seed blossoms in the long run, right? You're planting a seed, you're walking with somebody through a tough patch, and hoping that you can pass on some skills to them, and then they go. And you don't, a lot of times don't know what happens to them unless they come back to you. But in our drop-in centers, we're that in-between spot, and it's super important because Montana's really missed this dropping out of a level 3.3 and may or may not show up for outpatient. All right, well, we're that catcher in the middle, catch them and bring them in, and I think that's a really important piece. And the positive thing that I see consistently daily, I have people tell me, I couldn't get clean here until I came here. Right? I couldn't get clean in my community. And our communities consistently send people out of the area to get clean and get healthy and get well. And now we don't have to. They can come here. And they do. They come here and they get well. And it's beautiful. We can keep them home. And we get to watch them grow, longitudinal study kind of stuff. Because we're with people for years. We're a recovery community. People stick around. They don't just come here and do treatment and bounce. They come here and they're part of this community. And so I get to watch people get their kids back and go to college and get a career. And we only hire from within our own recovery communities. So we get to watch people grow on a professional level. And it's beautiful. And the way our communities can help us, I mean, each recovery or each drop-in center is going to have different needs because we're all different. We have different points that we need help with. Just ask us if you have funding or volunteers or anything. Just call us up and ask us. We'll tell you what we need and how to support us. Definitely on the legislative end, anything that is helping with the recovery residents programs. Housing is a huge issue. Like our people can't get housed. Number one, because there isn't housing here. But number two, it's just everything costs so much that we can't get people into a place. So any way you can support that piece of this supports us, because we're trying to get people somewhere safe and housed and warm. So I think I hit the points. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was great because I know even within my own story that it wasn't necessarily treatment that saved me. It was having the drop-in center to go to, having people to walk with me, and being able to kind of like phase into society with this recovery community. And you know, a lot of money gets sent out to these treatment centers. And I think the in-between is what we're missing, like you said. So yeah, thank you. And next, Elton.
So a lot of people I've said good things, and I agree with a lot of it, like Hannah was saying, one of the things is that I've actually had a couple of people come in here who work for our subsidiary, which is we're an entity of Good Sam Ministries. And not everybody there is in recovery because it's a totally separate program. And they've tried to do a group, or they've tried to talk to some of the clients, and they come back and do they have even a clue of what this life is like? And so, it makes a huge difference that those of us that are doing this, that have the lived experience, because our stories might be a little bit different, but like I said earlier, the emotions are the same. We've all been there. It all leads us to the same place. And a lot of us, like Rosanna was saying earlier, we feel like we're nothing. And one of the positive outcomes I see of coming here is people are actually starting to feel like, hey, I'm somebody. I'm worth something. And we see clients come in that sometimes they're active in their addiction, but they're drawn to stay to the groups that I've started. And in the last 6 or 7 months, we've seen like 8 or 9 people actually make it into recovery. And a couple of them were when they told me they were going into treatment, and they come back like 6 months later. It's like, wait, what? You're sober still? They're the people that I never thought were going to make it. But they said, well, the difference was the groups that I came to every day. You guys made the difference. You believed in me when nobody else did. And, that is so important, because we could be dressed in a 3-piece suit and still feel like we're worthless and nothing. And, you know, when people find out I'm in recovery, they're like, you were always the good boy, the good guy. Yeah, but I hid it real well. Because we're real good at that. We only let the world see what we want them to see. And we're very master manipulators. And, you know, in some of these people that unfortunately don't make it into a treatment center, because unfortunately there's not enough treatment centers here in Montana for the number of people that need treatment. And some of the people don't meet the criteria to go into treatment because the treatment centers have criterias. And so we're sitting here trying to help them get into recovery. And then when they do get out of recovery, they don't know where to go because there's not enough halfway houses. There's not enough sober living centers. And the ones that are there are almost always full. You know, and we deal with a lot of people that get dropped off here from Department of Corrections. And the hardest ones I see are the men and women that are on the registry as a violent offender, sex offender. We work really hard with them. You know, a lot of them have cleaned up their act. They've done their time. They've done what they're supposed to do. They've done what society says. If you do all these things and follow all these rules, you can be back in society. And yet they get out here and we still treat them like they're a prisoner. Our SOs and VOs have no place to live. Nobody, not in my backyard, that whole NIMBY thing. And so even when we do get some extra housing, even our HUD housing in our Section 8, none of them qualify because they have that on their record. Where am I supposed to tell them to go when it's 20 below outside? Where am I supposed to tell them to get permanent housing? They want a chance at a life just like the rest of us. You know, and here they come here knowing that I don't care about their past. I want to help them move into the future. Because you know what? And I have shared this at many meetings that I've had with the community. The difference between the people that get out and the people that are out is some of us have just never gotten caught for the stuff that we did when we were out there. You know, I know that I did some crap when I was out there using. Just by the grace of God, I never got arrested for, never got caught, but I was lucky. So what's the difference between me and them? Nothing. Just they got caught and I didn't. You know, and so it's like what Don was saying, the lack of affordable housing in Montana. Here in Helena, it's ridiculous. A lot of our clients are, you know, maybe on Social Security disability income, or they're on just straight SSI, or they're working a minimum wage job because that's all they can get. How do they afford a $1,500 a month rent for a 1-bedroom? You know, I've seen studios for $2,000 a month here in Helena. Who makes that kind of money? Not anybody I know. I don't even make that kind of money. You know, and so giving people a chance, getting an area where these guys can actually live. We actually have a large group of people that they've had enough, and they have started their own tent city community up in the mountains, and they are fighting everybody. BLM, oh, you can't be here for more than 15 days. City of Helena, oh, you can only be here for 16 days. Department of Forestry, oh, you can only be here for 6 days. Where are they supposed to go? They just want a place where they can leave their stuff and go out and get jobs and have a place where they can come home to eat. A lot of our people are not welcome at the local shelter for whatever reason. We need another shelter. We need the community to start wanting to be educated in what is this really all about? Because a lot of them out there, they have no clue of who we are, what we do. They have no clue what it's like to be us. You know, and support with winter coming, donations, monetary donations, gift cards, jackets, warm sweaters, just that stuff that we all take for granted because we all have it in our closet. I've had people come in here when it's 0 outside. All they have on is a couple of t-shirts and a pair of pants. And we try to give them blankets and sleeping bags and things, but there's more of them than there are of us. And it's growing. It's growing at a rapid rate. And you know what a lot of people need to understand in the community is that all of us are one paycheck away from being out there with them. One catastrophe, and we'll be there. So, you know, just like Don said, you want to know what we need, ask us, we'll tell you. Thanks.
Thank you, Elton. That was powerful, and thank you for the work you're doing. Next, Misty.
The question was how this funding could support more, it would help to expand our services, you
Yeah,
know,
like,
and be,
What are some,
I'm saying it,
oh,
this-
yes, sorry.
we would be able to expand our services, and you know, and having this drop-in center is everything to this community here in Lodge Grass, Montana. You know, every day when I come show up at 8 o'clock, people are there, you know, waiting for us to open. You know, they depend on this place. They come here, they sit there for support. They feel like they're important when they're there, that they matter, like Don said, you know, a lot of times people don't, you know, they could be wearing a 3-piece suit, a bum in a suit, and still not feel good about themselves, you know, and just having this support and having a place to come to. I just want to say, when me and my husband came back, there was nothing. You know, we found one Celebrate Recovery that we went to, and after that was over, we didn't have anything. This drop-in center is a place that people can come back from treatment and have support once they come back, to keep them stable on their, you know, on their feet, you know, so they don't fall, you know. Just being able to be there for my people. When I say my people, I'm talking about the Crow Nation here, and being able to support them and be here for them, you know, because we live in a rough community where it's full of crime. There's the drug addiction just is rapid here, you know, everywhere you look, and the bootleggers, even though we're a dry reservation, there's alcohol sold right here down the street, you know. I mean, our drop-in center is a block away from a bootlegger's house, you know. So you see people going there, but having our door open all the time for them to come to, you know, even if they're not ready to recover, that door open, they keep coming. And then when they are ready, you know, we're there. And we're like, okay, let's do this, you know. So, I mean, this drop-in center is important, you know, and with this funding, we can continue to support our community and be there for them. So that's all.
Thank you, Misty. A lot of strong messages. Thank you, guys. And now we'll go to Roanna.
Hey guys, so what are the positive outcomes of this work? Being trusted by your community, being an open book, being transparent. They know who you are, they trust you, being needed, you know, through my story and my life and my experience and my recovery, being the one they need for prayer, for answers on direction, guidance, and then for those that do the work, and for the ones that are tired and are done and will do the work and finally attain life like I have, like they've seen, and be successful. And get their children back, their homes are restored. If they're back in college or school, they have cars, they have homes, and that thanks, that gratitude they give you at the grocery store, thank you, and someone always needing you, because they know you went through it and you survived, and they know how it feels and what it looks like, and yeah, that's the positive outcomes of this work. What is something you want to share with the viewers of the Drop-In Center? Drop-In Set peer support work, Drop-In Center isn't it so? It's very rewarding, just as much, emotional, spiritual, that weight we take on because we care about these people. We do know what they feel like. We do know what they went through. We know where they came from. And carrying that weight with them is tough. That self-control, or that, what do they say? Practice your self-care, your self-care, your self-care, your self-care, the boundaries. And I feel like that part there comes from somebody that's never been here, because sometimes it's impossible, like you're so emotionally drained because you sat with an ant that's got feces in their pants and can't regain life, and they're just those things. So keep your spirituality strong. Pray over yourself. And what we do is sometimes really heavy, but gosh, our communities are so blessed to have us, and reach out to one another, and we know each other as Drop-In Center. Sorry. We know what it's like, so when we feel like both sides, the people running the organizations are, they when they don't know, and you're still trying to help your community, and there's those expectations of how they want you to run things and what your community actually needs. That balance, find that balance, because it can really hinder us, and it's just so stay connected and communicate with one another, and just yeah, your spirituality, and just keep showing that love that got us here.
Thank you so much, Roanna. And again, thank you all for spending this time with me today. And thank you to our viewers. All the Drop-In Centers information will be in links below. So thank you for joining us today, and have a good week.